Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Dani and today I'm going to do the reading taste tag. This tag was created by Sophia's Thoughts. I'm going to leave all that information down in the description. I wasn't tagged by anyone, I was just looking for cool tags to do and I found this one and I really think it's interesting because it's just an overall view of my reading tastes. So the first question is, what is your favorite genre? I think for sure my favorite genre is fantasy, but I do have to say that I really love sci-fi, and I haven't read enough sci-fi to know if that would be my favorite genre. I think it could fall on the sci-fi, but for now, from everything that I've read and for everything that I'm usually more inclined to pick up, definitely fantasy. The second question is, what is the most difficult genre for you to read? I usually don't read romance, but I don't think it's a difficult genre for me to read. It's just something that I don't usually pick up. What's the most difficult for me? I think literary fiction, especially older ones, I would say, not necessarily classics, but it's usually very slow, and the whole point of the book is spread out in like 500 pages. That's definitely harder for me to read, but I've read some amazing literary fiction, so I don't know if that would be the case. I think slower books definitely would be the case, so not a genre specifically. I don't know, I think if I'm interested in the topic, I'm interested in the story or even the author, you won't necessarily be difficult to read. So I don't have an answer for that. Question number 3 is what's your preferred age range? I think adult for sure for most like sci-fi and fantasy that I read. I do prefer adult sci-fis. I read a lot of YA sci-fis, but I'm trying to YA fantasy. I'm sorry. I'm trying to maybe read less of that because the all the ones that I've read this year, most of them were, I don't know, 3 stars or just like low 4 stars that like it's fine, but I didn't really enjoy myself that much. So I definitely will decrease the amount of YA that I'm reading, especially YA fantasy that I'm reading, because I think all of them are starting to look literally the same right now. So yeah, I'm still very excited for all the adult fantasies that I have on my bookshelf, for example. And definitely middle grade as well. I think I'm starting to get back into middle grade a little bit more. I started to subscribe to All Grade Junior. I'm skipping one or the other each month, depending on which book I prefer more. I'm not getting both our grades, but I'm since the first month, which was last month was the first one I received, both November and December, I do prefer Al Crate Junior book than the Al Crate normal YA fantasy book. So I'm very excited to read more middle grade. Question number 4. Are you a character-driven or a plot-driven reader? Definitely plot-driven reader. I do love awesome characters, of course. Who doesn't? I think they should be well developed. They should have enough page time to develop and be explored, and so you can really understand their motivations and what they're like and all that. But if the story is too slow, if there's no plot to move it forward, I usually get bored. Question number 5. Do you have a preferred perspective? Not necessarily, depends on the way the book's written. I think if you have multiple perspectives, I tend to prefer if it's third person, because I don't know if that's even necessarily true, but because I think it's easier to separate from one perspective to the other if we have more than one when it's third person. But I don't really mind either way. I do think that second person is my least favorite. I haven't read a lot of them, but I read 2 short stories that I mentioned in my short sci-fi stories that I read. And I'm reading one book now called If I Disappear. It's an arc that's coming out next year. And it's also in second person, all of these that I said. And I don't think I like second person. I haven't read enough to say for sure, but this one's, I think that I understand, especially for the short stories, because the vibe of that story, it works better and it's short. But for the full length novel that I'm reading right now, it bothers me a little bit. It's just it takes me out of the story, because when she keeps saying you, like talking to you, I know that you is not me, so it doesn't like takes me out of the story a little bit. Question number 6. Do you have a preferred tense? So like past tense, present tense. And again, I don't usually even notice in which verb tense the story is being written in. Number 7, do you like series or standalone books best? I think I prefer fantasy series because it's really hard, especially epic fantasies, to explain everything in one book. And I like it being very well developed and very well explored. And I like it when the author gives themselves time to just flesh out a whole universe and magic and all these characters. But overall, other than that, I don't really have a preference. Question number 8. Which would you rather, long or short books? If I have to pick just one, because there's a which would you rather question, I think I would choose long books. But I don't have anything against short books. If the story is going to drag on forever, I'd rather the book be shorter and not extend itself more than it should. But sometimes we need a longer book to tell the story better, so if I had to pick, I would say long book. Question number 9. Which format do you like best? Definitely physically reading. Ebooks are harder for me to pick up, and audiobooks, I just don't have enough time right now, and I do prefer physical than audiobooks. When it's a book that I'm really anticipating and really excited for, I usually will pick up the physical because it's more like I take my time and I read it in my pace instead of someone telling me the story. And if I want to go back and like reread it, the thing that I just read, I can do that in a book. But in physical format, I don't necessarily have a preference. If it's a very long book, maybe paperbacks because it's easier to carry. But hardcovers look so pretty, and they honestly are not that more difficult to read, to hold and read. But mass market, definitely a no, because those are hard to hold, and it's just not, I don't like it. And the last question is, what are you currently reading? So like I mentioned, I'm reading If I Disappear by Eliza Jane Brazier. It's coming out next year, and yeah, I don't know when, but 2021. I got an arc from NetGalley, and I'm enjoying the story, but the second person is annoying me a little bit. And what I'm physically reading is Hollow Pucks. I received this book from the publisher. Thank you so much. It's my most anticipated book of the year. It took a little bit to get to my hands because I've been just seeing everyone reading it in Australia and UK because it came out there before US and Canada. But I finally have it and I'm so excited. I'm on page 58 and I'm loving it. It's everything that I needed, that I wanted, and it's perfect, and it's going to be 5 stars. And this is it for this tag. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for joining me. Bye.